Maybe someone can read. Someone like to read? You like to read? You want to read? Someone can read. Just reading a little bit.
Reading of Prema, by the spiritual sound vibration. And this comes from Srila Bhagavatam 6 Canto, chapter 433. The names of the Superlord are not material. This is Daksha who speaks to Lord Vishnu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is inconceivably opulent, who is devoid of all material names, forms, and pastimes, and who is all-pervading, is especially merciful to the devotee who worship his lotus feet. Thus he exhibits transcendental forms and names with his different pastimes. May that Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose form is eternal and full of knowledge and bliss, be merciful to me. In regard to this significant word Anama Lupa, Sri Sridhar Swami says, Prakrita Nama Lupa Rahitopi. The word Anama, which means having no form, indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no material form. Simply by chanting the name of Narayan to call his son, Ajami attains salvation. This means that Narayan is not a very mundane name. It is not material. The word Anama therefore indicates that the names of the Lord, of the Supreme Lord, do not belong to this material world. The vibration of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is not a material sound, and similarly the form of the Lord and his appearance and activities are all non-material. To show his causeless mercy to the devotee, as well as to the non-devotee, Krishna, Supreme Personality of Godhead, appear in this material world with names, forms, and pastimes, all of which are transcendental.
Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. You have class now? Class now? Oops.
Would you like to read on Gaura Das Babaji?
I'm going to read from here.
Okay.
Today, who will be translating?
I can try. Nice to.
Alexander.
It's better if we go there, maybe.
Yeah, it's better if you go there. It's a fact. It's kind of like crossing language track.
On a de ce côté pour pas déranger la vie. Et tous les autres vont de l'autre côté. All others go to the side. Les Français viennent de ce côté. Français, anglais.
Yeah. In between, he can sit in between, get both. From the left ear, he can hear French. From the right ear, he can hear English.
Okay. I will do like this.
Are you okay now? But first, we'll sing this song. Sapashita Bhagavat Viraha Janita Vilapa. This is a song by Narottam Das Thakur. I have it here on my computer, so you don't need to give me one. It's called Lamentation Due to Separation from the Lord and His Associates. I don't know which page it's on. something knocked down there. Was it water?
Closed.
Pardon?
It was closed bottle.
Oh, good. So, Ye Anilo Prema Dhana. I need the cartels, please. Come on. Madanga. Madanga. You play Madanga. That's Madanga. Ye Anilo Prema Dhana Gaura Pracho Ye Anilo Prema Dhana Hino Prabhu Pota Kilacharya Thako Hino Prabhu Kilacharya Thako Kahamora Swarupa Kaha Sanata Kahamora Swarupa Kaha Sanata Kadasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kadasa Raghunatha Patita Pavan Kamora Patayuga Kaha Kavira Kamora Patayuga Kaha Kavira Ekakale Kota Kela Gaura Nasara Ekakale Kota Kela Gaura Nasara Pasane Kutibo Mata Hanale Pashibo Ashane Kutibo Mata Hanale Pashibo Gauranga Kunera Niri Kota Kilipavo Gauranga Kunera Niri Kota Kilipavo Sesama Sanghira Sanghi Ego Hiro Pira Sesagana paya kande anaro tamadas. Sesagana paya kande anaro tamadas. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Gaura Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Gaura Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj, O Kishora Das, Jaya Gaura Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj, 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 Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gaura Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Om Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivajacharya Ashtata Satisya Gaura Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Gaura Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj Tiruba Mahamotsav ki jai, Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Sri Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvasesha Sanyavari Pastachare Shatarine. Hare Krishna. Songbook in English if possible. Thank you. Om Jnanatimandasya Ganandana Chalakaya Chakshunamalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Tapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Tam Sajivam Sarvetam Savadritam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchaka Patarubhyascha Vipasindhu Vyahevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. And in the French songbook, the songs were not in the same order as the English one. You got Samsara Dava first, and Namam, everything. Then you have the other one. Yeah, different order. Mangalacharna comes afterwards. So I've opened it there. Srila Kisora Babaji Maharaj. You can. Namo Gaura Kishoraya Chakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipalamba Vasambode Padambujaya Te Namaha Namo Gaura Kishoraya Shakshad Vairagya Murtaye Namo Gaura Kishoraya Shakshad Vairagya Murtaye Vipalamba Rasambode Padambujayate Namaha Vipalamba Rasambode Padambujayate Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, the spiritual master of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who is renunciation personified. He is always merged in a feeling of separation and intense love of Krishna. So today is the disappearance day anniversary of Srila Gaura Kisora Das Babaji Maharaj, the initiating spiritual master of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. So today is also, of course, I think Ekadashi, is that right? Ekadashi? The first day of Bhishma Panchaka. Some devotees, especially in Vrindavan, are following this Ekadashi Vrata and continuing the Ekadashi Vrata for 4 more days after today, up until next Tuesday. And some of them, they just follow Ekadashi. Some of them just eat fruit. Some of them don't eat at all. Some of them eat khichdi at night. Some of them eat cow dung only today. And cow urine tomorrow. Today's cow dung. Tomorrow cow urine. The day after they drink milk. The day after they eat yogurt. And the last day they have khichdi, they mix all 4 together. So you have, which one you like to do? Do you want to have some cow dung here? Yeah, last day. That's just the last day. Last day. Cow dung, cow urine, milk and yogurt. It's very tasty. It is very tasty. That doesn't mean it's a good taste, but it's very tasty. I don't know if you've ever drunk cow urine. You have? Another one of those fanatics. Huh? It's very good for your health if you can survive. No, it's medicinal, very medicinal, cow urine. But not that becomes your main diet. Don't imitate this, please, okay? Not good for you. So besides that, today the significance is the Tirubhav, or the disappearance anniversary of Gaura Kisora Das Babaji. And it's interesting because he is practically a personification of renunciation. We'll hear about that a little bit. Time is short. I can't remember the verse. There's a verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Oh, you can bring that. Madhya Lila. Quickly bring. The last volume of the Madhya Lila. That's the blue book. The blue book. The one, huh?
It's French.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Makes no difference. I see you've read it. All of you have read it through many times. So nicely you put the plastic cover back on every time you read it. Keep it very, very tidy and clean. Very well done. You have to teach us the science of putting it back on. Here we are. Madhya Lila 23:40. It's actually 39. There's 40 here, but it's not. It's 39. Yanra chite Krishna Prema kare rudai tanra bhakta kriya mudra vigeya nabujai. This famous statement, Yanra chite kriya mudra vigeya nabujai. And the meaning is, even a most learned scholar, it cannot understand the activities and the symptoms of exalted personalities in whose heart love of God has awakened. Is that a good translation?
I think it's a great translation.
Pardon? There. You can keep the book if you want. So what's the meaning of this? It's no one can understand, unless you're very advanced spiritually, the heart of a pure devotee. Because we are looking through our material eyes. And everything we see through our material eyes and our material minds is perverted or colored by the way I see it. And every conditioned soul sees it differently. The symptoms of one who's in love of Godhead are not always, let's say, so easy to ascertain from the material point of view. Sometimes there are descriptions of one who's in love of God, and maybe sometimes ordinary people can relate to the descriptions. But sometimes these great souls don't behave like those descriptions. They behave in spontaneous or extraordinary ways, not taking into account the opinion of others or normal social behavior, because they are not necessarily in the mood of directly trying to preach a process. Most of the symptoms of love of God which we hear describe the performance of a process. Like if you hear who is a good person in society, there will be some description of their behavior. They're very kind, they're very generous, they're very compassionate, they're very peaceful, very on and on like this. Very, what else, merciful, they're similar qualities, aren't they? They're very self-controlled, different things like this. Selfless. Their performances, the way they perform, the way they act. So similarly with pure devotees, because material people generally judge others by the way they act. It's natural. It's natural, because we're on that bodily platform. So what they do with their body is usually the definition of a pure devotee. Or perhaps their mind. Perhaps what they do with their mind is also described. But you can't necessarily read their mind. What they're really thinking, you cannot say. It may come out in their activities. But it's mainly the activities that we judge a pure devotee. They follow the rules and regulations, they're always chanting, they're in disciplic succession, and so on. Like that. They practice what they preach. They're regulated. They follow the principles. Like that. They inspire others, because that is an internal thing as well as an external one. To inspire others to become devotees. The real conclusive, let's say, understanding of a pure devotee, only pure devotees can understand. Because Gaura Kisora Das Babaji behaved in rather unusual ways. He didn't appear to follow the normal behavior sometimes of a pure devotee. Yet, he was accepted by the strictest, most learned personality, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, as his guru. Very different in their external, you could say, behavior, appearance, even the way they preached. Very different. So let's have a little look at this now. Now, Gaura Kisora Das Babaji was born, there's a whole section missing here obviously, but he was born in Bangladesh, what is now called Bangladesh, somewhere on the banks of the river Padma. And he was born into an ordinary Vaishya family. Vaishya, you can explain, in those who are generally either engaged in farming or in some kind of business or trade. In this case, it was business. And he chose not to have any practically formal education. He was, from the material perspective, illiterate. You know, illiterate. Could not read or write. And at least he was performing this pastime of being illiterate, practically speaking. Prabhupada wrote in 1967, now this is pretty early in our movement, one or so years. Prabhupada writes, "To think of becoming a fool is the real qualification for a bona fide disciple." So now you know you're all very qualified now. You don't even think of, you don't think about it. A stool?
French translation for fool.
For was it?
Un sot.
Un sot?
Quelqu'un qui est sot.
Un sot?
Yes. So.
It can also be taken to mean a bucket.
A bucket.
Yeah.
You're just like a bucket. A stool. Well, in England, a fool. Okay, you're just a bucket. But you don't have to think about it. We are fools. We don't think about it. We're real fools because we think we're not fools. Right? We're the real fools. I could tell a lovely story about that, but time won't allow it. So, what does it mean? I mean, does it mean you should try to purposely become number one fool? I just heard it. We have to think about becoming a fool. I'm meditating on being a fool. It means a little bit more than that. As soon as one thinks that he has become the wiser man than the spiritual master, one is surely doomed. We should remain everlastingly a fool before the spiritual master. And so you may pick up on a slightly different meaning to the word there. Not artificially, but feelingly. And then we can make real progress. In other words, we feel ourselves unqualified. Not that I'm qualified. I'm very learned. I'm a good devotee. I know more than my guru. What does he know? I'm born in a very advanced family. Very learned Brahmin family from Lyon. Many Brahmanas in Lyon, isn't it? There's a Brahmin community on the main street down in the city, isn't it? Is that right? They're very renounced. They're like Gaura Kisora Das Babaji.
Yeah, they are practicing very regular.
Very austere. They also feed dogs. Sometimes these Babaji, Jagannath Das Babaji, another Babaji there, was feeding dogs. He served the puppies. So we should always remain in this humble mood. Sometimes humble and full can be not artificially. Even my spiritual master, Prabhupada, our Prabhupada is talking, he was a great scholar, but he remained a so-called fool before his spiritual master, who was outwardly an illiterate village fellow. So in the absolute world, the fool is also the master. In the outside world. And the master is also a fool. They're both fools and they both think they're masters in the material world. In the material world it's like that, but in the spiritual world it's different. To feel oneself a fool in front of the spiritual master is actually a very elevated position. And the spiritual master also feels himself a fool. Everyone feels themselves the servant of others. Everyone feels like that. Lord Chaitanya also accepted himself a great fool before his spiritual master, although he's the Lord of everything. He is the Lord of his own initiating spiritual master, Ishwara Puri. But he considered himself, my spiritual master called me a fool. Lord Chaitanya said, my spiritual master considered me a fool. You are not eligible to study the Vedas. Just chant Hare Krishna. So all of us must follow this transcendental process of seeing ourselves as the servant of others. Let's see, well, we're going to have to just select a few items here. Let's go on a little bit here. I don't know where we're going to take this up. I'm just going to mention a few aspects, we could say. He was actually married when he was young. And he remained more than 20 years as a householder. He was married for more than 20 years. Mm-hmm. When his wife left her body, he gave everything up because he was following the family tradition. He was doing grain business, selling grains. Grain merchant. And he just left. And he just went to Vrindavan. He was only doing it out of, he had no real interest in family and business. He left and went to Vrindavan. And he took initiation, Babaji initiation, from a disciple of Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj named Bhagavat Das Babaji. Mm-hmm. He took Babaji from him. And he just stayed in Vrindavan, very renounced, and just lived under trees, here and there. For about 30 years he stayed in Vrindavan. We don't hear much about these first, you could say, 65 years of his life. Very little. Mm-hmm. And then, from then on, he went to Navadvip, and he resided there for the remainder of his life. He was doing Madhukari, sometimes just go around. People give some grains or something, dry foods. Sometimes he'd offer it to Krishna by holding it in his hand and say, Krishna, eat this. Here, take this. Just like you would to a friend. To your friend, you don't go through any rituals. Hey, would you like a sandwich? Here. Right? You don't have to go through any ritual or anything. Though like that, sometimes he would do it like that, sometimes in front of the deity. Mm-hmm. He would cook on wood sometimes, wash old pots that had been thrown in the garbage. Clay pot was one thrown away. Use that for cooking sometimes. And for his clothes, he would find some torn cloth somewhere. Somebody's thrown away. They go to the Ganga, wash it. That would be his. He'd never acquire anything of any value in the eyes of the public, you could say. He would go to the places where people have been, cremated, the burning camps. And whatever cloth had been discarded there, he would take that also, if he needed. He wouldn't wear much. He was never dependent on others. He would take things of no value to others, rejected things. So he wasn't a burden to anyone, really. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who's famous by Acharya in our line, he accepted him also like a Siksha guru. And whereas Gaura Kishore Das Babaji looked to Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the same way, you could say. They treated each other with great respect. Or Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Gaura Kishore. They treated each other with great respect. Both of them. Both of them. Yeah. Because they were both basically followers of the follower of Jagannath Das Babaji. They both had a relationship there. All he possessed, other than torn cloth, his only possessions were tulsi beads, which he wore around his neck, tulsi mala, and the tulsi which he kept in his hand for counting his rounds. He had a few books, which he usually kept. Narottam Das's Prarthana. That song we sang was from that book. It's a compilation of songs with philosophy in the songs, but mainly feelings, emotions. And he kept Prema Bhakti Chandrika, another book of Narottam. We sing in the morning, Shri Guru Charano Padma Kevala Bhakti. That song is from there, I think. Sometimes he'd go naked. So we don't imitate these type of devotees. We learn from their devotional example to some extent, for sure. Sometimes he'd utter harsh words of disgust for no apparent reason. Nobody could understand why. He would just shout something, People would be shocked. They couldn't understand, because he could see what's going on in the person's mind. Yeah. They might be behaving normally in proper ways, but he could see their mind, and it's just disgusting. He wasn't a learned scholar, but every time there was a need, he would get the exact conclusion of the scripture. He would never let anyone serve him. Never. He'd never let anyone serve him, practically. I mean, sometimes somebody was serving him, but practically, he was like, he wasn't into that at all. And he was expert at revealing, as we mentioned just now, the cheating nature of others. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, many young, clever, old, learned, foolish, proud, there's a long line. Many young, clever, old people, this is a description of people who would come to him. Some of them thought themselves clever, some of them were old, some of them thought they were very learned. Some of them were simply fools, some were proud. And ordinary people, reasonable people, came in contact with him, but they couldn't recognize him because they were judging him according to how we judge an ordinary materialistic person. We expect that from the Guru sometimes, because he's some kind of mundane, whatever, magician or a mundane doctor or a mundane, order supplier. Someone who can satisfy all my material needs. He would sometimes give them suggestions. People would come to him, help me on, my marriage, and, what should I do, my business, this thing, that thing. He would sometimes give suggestions, but they would almost always be very disappointed. Completely misunderstanding what he's meaning. Many people came to him dressed like Babajis. But he would call them imposters unless they were genuine. He would just go away. Even if people offered him some opulence, he wasn't interested at all. He never displayed any distaste for people who didn't like him. Even if they didn't like him and they say, why you speak like this? He didn't worry in the least. He had no false ego, you could say. None. And he wasn't overly affectionate to those who were dear to him and kind to him and so on. He didn't favor them in any way. He said, in this world I am all alone in my service to Lord Krishna. Everyone else is worshipable by me. Although he'd treat them like that, he would see everyone else as objects for my worship. Mm-hmm. Let's move forward. There's many things we could read here. He gave a gift actually to his initiated disciple, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And he gave him, he was carrying a basket, and he offered Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj 4 or 5 pieces of rope. And he said, chant on this. You have to chant on the rope. But don't ask me how he was chanting on the rope. You should do that downtown. Here, boys, take this, chant on this. He also gave him a tilak stamp with the initials Hare Krishna, Ha and Kra. And he gave him a tiger skin cap. Is this a tiger skin cap you're wearing? Yeah? Tiger skin cap? Yeah? French tiger. A French tiger. Huh?
Yeah.
And some other paraphernalia of the Lord. Some people, sometimes he would imitate, he would behave as if he were blind. Pastime. Some people thought he was crazy, insane, but he didn't care the least. Huh? Bhaktivinoda Thakur would sometimes try to put him in shape, give him a regulated diet. But he didn't have anything to do with it. They tried to take him they wanted to take him to Calcutta to have for his eyesight. He was blind. They wanted to take him to Calcutta. He refused to go to that hellish place. He wouldn't go. It's vision. He wasn't even thinking whether he was dressed or not. He was completely oblivious almost to mundane considerations. He said, I'll never go to the illusory universe, Calcutta. Never. One time in Bengal, in Mayapur, in maybe 1973 or something, Jayapataka Maharaj, one of our senior devotees, was learning Bengali. So he asked one farmer near Mayapur, said, just some simple question, have you been to Calcutta? Have you been to Calcutta? And the man said, once only, when I was a young man. He thought, only once? He was an old man. He thought, only once in your whole life? Yes, and I will never ever go there again. So what? Why not? It is such a hellish place, he said. I said, why? He said, I saw a man and a woman holding each other's hand on the street. I will never go there again, he said. It is so disgusting. Now, can you imagine?
You should go to France.
Wait, do you still see men and women holding hands?
More than that, Maharaj.
Pardon?
They are kissing each other in the street.
They're what? Eh, what is that?
You don't know what he's saying.
I mean, it was like that. Even in England, when I was a kid, it looked a bit disgusting for a boy and a girl to hang out together on the street in public if they weren't married. It was looked down on. It was looked down on. You get in trouble. You get in trouble. Times have changed, huh? And now boys and girls, boys and boys and girls and girls, and what, anything you can get your hands on. Anyway, he goes on and on about these different behaviors and statements. He always observed Ekadashi fast rigidly. He would do what's called Nirjala Ekadashi, no water. Some other days he would eat dried, cracked rice, soaked in water, not even cooked, just soaked in water with hot chilies to make it tasty. Huh? Nice hot chilies. And sometimes he would just eat earth from the bank of the Ganges. I see you've got is that the breakfast today? I can see there's some nice clay in the back of the room there. You can mix it with water and you can eat it today. Huh? Put some nice chilies in there. Hot chilies. It'd be good for you. It'd be perfect for your digestion. Help you to, digest nicely. Take a couple of kilos of that I mean, you can't imagine these individuals, they're not on the same platform, They're completely different. Even physically, what to speak of spiritually. And they don't operate on the same level, As we heard on that film the other day, who was that? I can't remember. We saw the Prabhupada video the other day, and one of the new devotees in 66 said, well, people are trying to operate high on a low platform, and we're on a high platform, and we're trying to operate low on a high platform. The way he said it, it was so funny. You could tell he was definitely intoxicated. We're trying to operate low on a high platform. Yeah.
I'm not enough I to transfer.
No. Let's move on. There's so many pastimes we can't do. Let's see, where are we here? Let's see what this says. The supreme abode of the Lord. I think this is him speaking. His transcendental. This is to do with one lady. She bought some land in Navadvip. She bought some land in Navadvip. You know, with money. You know money? Argent. Argent, you know. Nous comprends? Nous comprends? Argent. Oui. Ici. Wants to buy. Acheter? Vous achetez une maison. Dans Navadvip Dham.
In Navadvip Dham, I translate in English. Maybe they don't understand.
So this lady, she was a queen actually. I mean, queens were ordinary. They weren't big people in India in those days. They were common. They were queen of an area. She was a queen, and she thought she was owning a property in Navadvip Dham. He said, how is it possible that she can become a landowner in the Dham? How is it that she is entitled to sell someone else a piece of what she thinks is her land? All the jewels found in the universe are not valuable enough to purchase even one speck of dust in the Dham. Lessons. How can any landowner have enough wealth to own a plot of this transcendental abode? He can't even own a grain of dust, what to speak of a piece of land. And now this Baba, that means the so-called spiritual Baba, this Baba. This so-called Baba who's buying off of her, has he become entitled to have a piece of land also? Just because he thinks he's a devotee? Anyone with such material intelligence is very offensive and far away from residence in the Dham. Those persons whose attitude is tainted, tainted, it means affected or a little bit materialistic, who think the Dham is part of this universe, they are considered to be sahajiyas, cheap devotees. You cannot own land in the spiritual realm. That was a strong teaching of Babaji Maharaj. Okay, we jump over. When performing practical devotional service, we should never exhibit our devotional ecstasies. Yeah. Should be rolling on the ground, frothing at the mouth, hairs standing on end. Okay? Tears rolling from your eyes. One should perform devotional service in such a way that his deep attachment increases within the Lord, within his heart. That's the main thing, in the heart. If one has that deep loving attitude in the heart, Krishna will approach him and claim you. Get a move on here. Sometime somebody came to him and were displaying what are normally seen as ecstatic, emotions and so on, symptoms. Babaji Maharaj really told him, go away, get out of here. He said, one who has actually attained love of God will never display the symptoms, but will keep them hidden from the general people. And he gave the example of how a chaste wife becomes embarrassed. She will never show any part of her body in public. Keeps completely covered because she's faithful to her husband. Real devotion for the Lord, when one has real love and devotion for the Lord, he feels embarrassed to exhibit symptoms. Keeps them hidden. So many examples here, we can't go through them. Another time, a seeker, somebody looking, they came to him to hear topics about Krishna. Please speak something about Krishna, as if I'm qualified to hear. But they heard harsh words. Instead of topics about Krishna, they heard harsh words. And they went away disappointed. Didn't come back. But they came back again very much later. They went away and did their own thing, somewhere or another. And Gaura Kisora Babaji said, "Oh, you have left the association of devotees where topics about Krishna are discussed, and now you are living in a secluded place and performing solitary worship of Krishna. When one hears the topics of the Supreme Lord in the company of devotees, when one hears the topics of the Supreme Lord in the company of devotees, then one becomes freed from Maya's net of illusion. But if one performs worship of the Lord in a secluded place, not in the association with devotees, one becomes caught by the illusory energy. And instead of Krishna, you will be absorbed in mundane matters."
And this is what Krishna has already said, or something?
Yeah, Gaura Kisora told him. Because this fellow had gone away proud, thinking, I will practice alone. And so now, in fact, Gaura Kisora was disgusted with his behavior because he was trying to do this, practice alone. So he was disgusted with him. Go away. But then the man came back sometime later for further, and now he's telling him that because you are trying to practice alone, you're nonsense. Babaji Maharaj then said, because this man was disturbed by Gaura Kisora Das Babaji, so Srila Babaji Maharaj replied, "Please take note that those sadhus who speak sharp words to drive away Maya are the only real devotees of Krishna and friends of the living entities. The conditioned living being experiences the distressful quarreling of his wife. In family life you hear all kinds of insults. Sometimes the wife insults you. The children, give you a hard time. But you carry on, even though tolerating all this rudeness and everything that's going on. Until death. He doesn't leave them. He tolerates. But when a devotee of the Lord, who's actually your well-wisher, chastises, for the reason of helping you to get out of Maya, the conditioned soul immediately thinks, I'm going away from here. I'm leaving. I don't want to hear from you anymore. Don't tolerate it. So if you actually want to perform devotional service properly, you must accept the harsh language of the sadhu as the medicine by which Maya can be given up. By this one can obtain necessary spiritual advancement. So, it's a very common lesson which he taught. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj says, anyway, I'll just summarize it. The sadhu actually acts in a way to make us speak out what is concealed in our hearts. He makes us speak what is hidden in our heart. Normally we don't do that. We try to put on a good show. Huh? But the sadhu brings it out, and then what does he do? Yeah, he takes a knife. And you bring a piece of butter, and he puts some butter on the bread. Spreads the butter on the bread. Is that what he does? Very good. Here's some butter to go on it. Is that what he does? What does he do? He cuts it out. Oh my God, that's not very nice, is it? Whew! I mean, this is not physical. This refers to our inner consciousness. So he likens the persons who are hiding things, they're like goats. You know, goat? Goat. No, that's sheep. A goat. We have goats at New Mayapur. Huh? Yeah. What? Cow is vache. What's goat? Chevron. Anyway, they're like goats. In India they have temples. Sometimes they cut the goat's throat. They have these goat slaughter temples. In Bengal, Malaysia also. So like that, he says that the sadhu is ready to cut out your nonsense with a sharp sword or sharp knife of strong words. He doesn't flatter. Move on. He didn't tolerate false renunciation. Here's a nice one. Tomar sevya dukha hoyo jato seto parama sukha seva sukha dukha parama sampara nashaye avidya dukha. Troubles, difficulties that is, encountered in your service, I used to like to quote this very often, shall be the cause of great happiness. For in your devotional service, joy and sorrow are equally great riches. They're both great riches. They're both very valuable. Joy and sorrow. Happiness and misery are both great joy, great riches. Both destroy the misery of ignorance. That means they come naturally in the course of your service. You don't have to make a separate endeavor. They come naturally. You take happiness, removes the reactions of your good activities, sorrow those of your bad ones. You don't get elated by or depressed by them. See them both as removal of. Srila Gaura Kisora Das Babaji always take shelter of Krishna and the devotees of the Lord. Tolerate the distress that comes upon you. And as one practices, they will come naturally. As we practice devotional service, sometimes distress comes along, he says. Tolerate it. This way you will get free of the duality of this world. But if we render service to Krishna to try to get a comfortable situation, we will never get free from the bondage of Maya. Sometimes we get caught up with that. An extra blanket at night in the van when we're sleeping and all kinds of Maya. I heard all about it. It's all over the internet. I heard you for your material comfort last night, you took an extra blanket. Huh? Yeah. I heard you cooked your favorite lunch yesterday, is that right?
That was right.
Hey? Kept me up all night with my stomach practically.
Very sorry about that.
Anyway, it's okay now, it's calmed down now. Oh, it's so funny. I mean, to read the whole thing would be all morning. Sometimes people, they try to hear these elevated pastimes about Krishna. But he said first they will have to give up bad association. And constantly, non-stop, chant the holy names. In the association of devotees. If they try to perform solitary worship, they will be caught by Maya. The name, form, quality and pastimes of the Lord are manifested or revealed only in the association of devotees. Wretched persons who have no faith in the chanting of the holy name are creating inauspicious situations for themselves by separately attempting to understand these things. At one time he got a bit fed up with, people coming to him. So he had one of his, let's say, persons who were a little closer to him, renovate an old disused toilet, a latrine, a public toilet. And he moved into there. So people didn't want to go there. So the idea was that, although it kind of renovate, but toilets in India, although you do get some like that in France too, actually. I've been in several here in France, which smell absolutely horrible. Have you ever been? Terrible smell. There's like somebody's urinated all over the floor and there's missed the pan when they pass stool and all sorts of things, Dreadful smell. You can hardly go in there. Then you find after that there's no running water to wash. When we go for the marathon in Châtelet, there is one like that on the corner there, public. At least it was. They don't clean it, And especially the local bums use it, these local guys. Stinks of like urine and stool and all sorts of things. There's no one else. Anyway, what to do? Especially during the COVID, it was like that. They teach that this imitation, one who performs devotional service but is actually materially, really attached to the matter, that mentality is more foul, horrible, foul smelling than stool. So, of course, at one point in time, Bhaktivinoda Thakur sent his son, Bhaktisiddhanta, for initiation to Gokishore. Gokishore wouldn't. He never initiated anyone. He was a Babaji. They don't do things like that. Usually they initiate Babaji, but nothing else. But Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj came to him on the order of his father. And he said, no, I cannot do this. And you're a learned scholar. You're very learned, and I'm illiterate. How can I possibly do this? Good scholarship and good behavior are extremely insignificant in comparison to devotional service to the Supreme Lord. Bhakti-siddhanta Maharaj would continue condemning his education and begging him. He said, well, I cannot. You come back tomorrow. I will see tomorrow. I will ask Mahaprabhu. I will ask Mahaprabhu if I can, if this is the thing to do. He was begging and begging and begging. He said, okay, come back. I'll ask Mahaprabhu. He came back the next day. Gurudev, did you ask Mahaprabhu? I forgot. Oh, he was devastated. Maybe come back after some time, I'll try to remember to ask him. He went home, his father said, this is now 2 times failure. He said, you go once more, if you don't get initiated this time, don't come back home. Don't want to see you. You must get initiated. He went back 3rd time. Gurudev, did you ask Mahaprabhu? Yes, I asked him. Please tell me, what did he say? Nothing. Bhakti-siddhanta Maharaj cracked. He fell down crying and crying and crying. If I cannot get your mercy, I will throw myself into the river to commit suicide. There's no point in my life. Seeing his intense sincerity and chastity, dedication, etc., Kisora finally bestowed his mercy upon him. Yeah, sometimes one gets cheated, he said, when one approaches the spiritual master with a material intent. And one thinks oneself very happy. Because one gets one's material return. Some material guidance, some material result, whatever it is. But that's not the real purpose. The real purpose of approaching sadhu is to become free of the desire for these things. Not to fulfill these desires. And so obviously in beginning stages, those who are directly preachers, sometimes there is a stage one goes through like that. It's not the goal. One time it was the, I think it was Rupa Goswami's appearance day or something. Let's say, some festival, big occasion. And Bhakti and Gaura Das Babaji Maharaj said, we will observe a great festival. Hearing this, one devotee inquired, how shall we obtain the necessary articles for the festival? You know, if you say we're having a festival, then, you've got to go out and buy boga and get milk and flowers and decorations and all sorts of things for the festival. Elephants maybe and whatever. How shall we celebrate it? Srila Babaji Maharaj replied, keep this to yourself. We will fast all day and constantly chant the Lord's holy name. This is how paupers like us will celebrate the festival. No feast, no nothing, just chanting constantly. I don't know if you'd attract many people to the feast at New Mayapur. No, to the festival, no feast, no abhishek. Yeah, no class, just chanting constantly all day long. Yeah. Wonderful, huh? has so many. Okay, well, I guess we better finish there. Oh, benediction. Gaura Kishora Das. Babaji Maharaj is now going to give you a benediction. Keep faith in the spiritual master and other Vaishnavas. Be as humble as a blade of grass, and with the forbearance of a tree, always chant the name of the Lord. Keep yourself aloof from the association of non-devotees. Hare Krishna. 1915, I think. Yeah, 1915. He passed away on this day. 15. Khan. You're thinking of Khan on the south coast, not up. Khan, how do you pronounce it? That famous city where all the boats are on the south coast. Khan. All they're difficult to pronounce, they all sound the same. There's a city in the north, in Normandy, Caen, and then there's a city on the south. How do you pronounce that with the boats?
Totally different. Caen.
And then there's 15, which is 15. I mean, to a non-French person, they all sound the same, you know. They all sound exactly the same. You can't tell the difference. You know. It's like there's Rin, Ren, and there's different cities. And Rin, and Rim, and Ren.
There is Ren the city and Ren the animal.
And then there's the other city, R-E-I-M-S, Rim. Another city.
The Queen, yeah. The Queen.
And that's another thing. But there's a city in the northeast of Paris called R-E-I-M-S, a very old famous city. Ren. Renault. That we can hear the difference there. Srila Gaura Kishora Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Prema.